Hi, thank you for watching Digging to China. I'm Dong Xiong. There are many policy differences between Biden and the Trump administration, but regarding China, Biden does not seem to deviate from Trump's, and his administration continues to build on the Trump team's efforts to deepen U.S. relations with Taiwan. Even though One China is still Washington's diplomatic formula, but the Trump and Biden teams have instituted policies that de facto nullify one of the four no's Bill Clinton affirmed during his 1998 visit to Beijing. No Taiwan independence, no two Chinas, no One China, One Taiwan, no participation in most international organizations. It seems the U.S. is moving towards One China, One Taiwan. In early July, Biden administration opened a new front to elevate Taiwan's status by reviving a Trade and Investment Framework Agreement, aka TIFA. This is the agreement signed in 1994 but has been put on shelf collecting dust since then. Because Taiwan had been unwilling to purchase American pork and beef treated with additives, the U.S. and Taiwan has not been able to negotiate any trade deals under TIFA. Last year, Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen broke the logjam in spite of domestic opposition and announced that Taiwan would lift the ban. The way was clear for trade talks potentially leading to a free trade agreement. Trump administration would have made it happen, but the timing was not in favor of such deal because U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer was deep in the critical trade negotiations with China. Beijing strongly objected to the Trump administration's growing ties with Taiwan and warned that Washington would have to choose which trade partner was more important to its interests. Back in 1990s, the same political impasse over Taiwan's economic status held up its admission to the World Trade Organization. Even though Taiwan had qualified to WTO entry, Beijing insisted that China be admitted first and that Taiwan could enter only as the separate customs territory of Taiwan, Penghu, Kinmen, and Matsu. The WTO kowtowed Beijing's demands and held up Taiwan's admission until China got its economic house in order to barely meet the minimum standards in 2001. Joe Biden then served as vice chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. At a hearing on permanent normal trade relations in July 2000, he said he long had supported linking trade with China to its progress on human rights, but now had changed his mind. Why? Because if China joined the WTO, so could Taiwan. He argued that economic interdependence between the two new WTO members would reduce cross-strait tensions. In 2020, China had a greater leverage because former President Trump hoped to get a historical trade deal with China. But what the President Trump got was a much modest Phase 1 deal, and there was not much to tout about in election year. With the election looming and the COVID-19 pandemic broke out, time had run out on opening trade negotiations with Taiwan. Now it is up to the Biden administration to start the TIFA process without having to please Beijing. Preliminary negotiations are underway and the prospect for deeper U.S. Taiwan economic relations is good. Also, there is a critical security matter that warrants much attention. In 2020, Congress introduced the TIFA, the Taiwan Invasion Prevention Act, to authorize the president to use military force for the purpose of securing and defending Taiwan against armed attack. TIFA envisions a wider range of Chinese military threats against Taiwan. It is not just limited to the massive invasion of the main island. TIFA is intended not only to prevent a direct armed attack by the military forces of the People's Republic of China, but also to deter the taking of territory under the effective jurisdiction of Taiwan and China's endangering of the lives of members of the military forces of Taiwan or civilians within the effective jurisdiction of Taiwan. This congressional initiative languished during the Trump administration. It was reintroduced again in this Congress and is awaiting action. If passed by Congress, TIFA would repudiate Washington's policy of strategic ambiguity. This strategic ambiguity was first enunciated by the Clinton administration when it told Chinese officials, "We don't know what we would do if China attacked Taiwan. It would depend on the circumstances." With TIFA's passing in Congress, it would eliminate the critical loss of time that would be consumed in frantic administration and congressional debate under the urgent circumstances of an actual or imminent Chinese attack. In other words, the act provides for a preemptive congressional vote now before China's current naval and aviation incursions suddenly become something more sinister. TIFA stresses the legal and constitutional considerations. It states, Congress declares that this section is intended to constitute specific statutory authorization within the meaning of the War Powers Resolution. TIFA also calls for the end of strategic ambiguity by stating, it is the sense of Congress that the President should release a public declaration that it is the policy of the United States to secure and protect Taiwan against any actions of the People's Republic of China. TIFA also calls on China to meet its responsibilities for peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. It states, it is the policy of the United States to demand that the People's Republic of China officially renounce the use or threat of military force in any attempt to unify with Taiwan. At his speech commemorated the 100th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party, Chinese leader Xi Jinping promised that foreign nations that try to bully China will get their heads bashed. Perhaps Biden can answer with a rock-solid commitment to Taiwan with the support and the passing of TIFA and TIFA. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button right here. I'll see you again shortly.